Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel, Gdaynamaste. Last week I posted my very first YouTube video of me speaking Hindi for a whole day. If you haven't watched it yet, I will link it up top. It's probably my favorite video so far actually, because I feel like it was really honest and raw and just how I am when I speak. So following on from last week's video, today I'm going to be talking about why I am learning Hindi, which I did touch a little bit on in one of my videos about how I adjusted to living here permanently. Again, I'll link it up top. But I also want to go into how I have learned and am still learning. The reason why I'm learning Hindi is mostly because my in-laws don't actually know English. So it's just a way of being able to communicate to them, gain some independence of being able to talk in the local language and being able to just do things by myself. You know, as I've talked about, I can talk to the house help, I can talk to couriers that come to the door, I can speak to providers that call on the phone. And it makes my life so much easier, and I think it also makes Sunil's life easier too, because he's not constantly being hassled by me to translate. So, you know, even last night my in-laws were here and we were watching like some Australian fishing, some young fishing guy on YouTube, and I was able to translate what he was saying and what he was doing and let them know in Hindi what he was doing. And I think that's just a really cool experience. So yeah, mostly why I started learning is because of my in-laws, to help with any communication barriers living locally. And again, because I'm planning on staying here long-term / permanently, knowing the language or knowing a local language I think is really, really important. So my language journey started it was around August 2019. So I had moved here in June. After 2 months, I think I talked about it before, I actually had a panic attack because I was feeling lonely. I wasn't really feeling settled. I couldn't communicate. I was feeling left out. And like Sunil had said to me, you know, it's only been 2 months. It's okay. It will take time. And I said, you know, I want to be able to learn Hindi. So then I was looking for tutors on Facebook and wasn't really successful in finding a tutor. And I had this vision in my mind of how I wanted to learn. I needed step-by-step guidance. I needed like a workbook. And I still remember we went to the local market and Sunil was like, I'll get you a book. And he goes to a bookshop, comes back in the car with, let me grab it, this book. I mean, The Dog's Tutor, but it's actually a book on learning the alphabet for kids. And I started crying again because that's not what I envisioned in my head, but I also hadn't told him what I was looking for. I then decided to look on Amazon, and I actually found this book, which is exactly what I wanted and exactly what I was looking for in terms of study and learning the language. So I did use this to learn the alphabet. I made my own flashcards, which I didn't actually keep, but yeah, I made flashcards copying the letters. And this was Romy when we first got him. I also used an application called Duolingo, which is really great, like a flashcard learning app. That was really great for learning the alphabet. It didn't really help after that because I didn't know any grammar too much, and they don't really teach you step-by-step grammar. And I'm someone that needs to know how things work and why things work the way they do, and I wasn't getting that with Duolingo. So it was great for the alphabet. I learned it with this and made my own flashcards. So that's how I learnt the script, the alphabet. There is also a section at the start here, like before you actually start the workbook, which is going through the Hindi scripts and sounds. So I also used this. So I did this for a few months, but my problem was that I tried to learn from so many different mediums at once. So I was trying to use this, I was using Duolingo. I also found like a few other websites that I could get free access to, like Hindi Pod 101. And I was just trying to find all of these ways to learn very quickly all at once. But the problem was I wasn't committing all of my time into one method. I was splitting my time and I wasn't really getting anywhere. So that was around August. I did that for a few months. Then my family came to India for my wedding in November. And then after that, I just stopped. Then, COVID happened in March, and around June 2020, when I was doing my kind of soul searching, figuring out who I am, rediscovering myself, that's when I started to really focus on learning Hindi again. So this time I decided to not worry about any of the other methods and just stick to this book because, it's separated into different chapters. It's planned, it's very straightforward. They also have like a CD-ROM part of it, but they have an application. So if you don't have like a CD player or a disk drive or something, you can just use the app to listen to the recordings and activities, which I thought was really, really helpful. So yeah, I started this in June for like June 2020. And then I was slowly starting to speak to Sunil, his sister, practicing that way. I was still using Duolingo. And once I started to learn some of the grammar from this book, everything else just started to make sense in Duolingo, and it was really, really helpful. So yeah, I was using Duolingo and this. So from about June to I think it's around October, November 2020, I was like really dedicating myself to this book, and I got a few chapters in and I was really learning, but the grammar is so confusing, and I needed someone, as I just said, I needed someone to explain why things were the way they are. I joined a few like Facebook groups on learning Hindi, and I would ask questions on there, or I'd ask my sister-in-law or Sunil. But just like when people ask me grammar questions about English, I don't know the reasons why things work the way they do, because it's just something I learned from when I was a child. So when I would ask Sunil, he'd just say, oh, it's just the way it is. And that wasn't a good enough answer for me. I needed to understand. So then I kind of just stopped. I would still use Duolingo here and there and, whatever. But yeah, I stopped altogether. And then at the end of the year, I was talking to one of my friends, and she was doing Hindi classes through a language school. And she had said, it's really good. You do like lessons 5 times a week. They're actually trained language teachers, so it's not like a tutor who doesn't really have plans sometimes. There's proper like coursework that you follow. You have like go through grammar, you do speaking, everything. And I thought, that sounds actually perfect, because I need someone to hold me accountable. And if I'm doing classes every day, then that's kind of given me that push. Otherwise, I tried doing it myself and I wasn't really that committed, obviously. So yeah, January 2021, I started with Landor Language School. They're based in Missouri. And I've been doing classes with them ever since. And that's where most of my progress has happened. I'm learning grammar as we go along. Half of my lessons now are talking to my teacher, and the other half are doing like the coursework. We talk a lot actually, and she's very patient with me. And if you're watching this, Namaste, Chandigarh. She's very patient and understanding and very, very helpful. We actually went to Missouri last year for a vacation and went and visited her, so that was really sweet. Yeah, and that has been the biggest probably shift or change for me, was actually going through them. And it's only because of COVID that they now offer online classes. Before that, they were just doing, it was an actual school. So if you signed up for like the beginner course, you would study there for like 12 weeks. So 5 days a week you would study there, and you'd finish the beginner course after 12 weeks. but because of COVID, they started offering online classes, and it's been so good for me being able to do that. They have started to do in-person classes again, or the schools opened up, but they still are thankfully offering online classes because, yeah, it's really, really, really beneficial. During all of this, I have also bought like kids' books. Haven't really read them all, but I remember, which one was it? I think it was this one, Bandar or Magamaj. My friend Priyanka actually came to my house one night, and I sat there reading this to her. Before I even really could understand the vocabulary, it's just to practice pronunciation. So reading out loud is a really, really good way of improving pronunciation and also gaining confidence in speaking, because you're understanding how the words are pronounced, you're understanding how to make them come out of your mouth. And kids' books are much easier to understand because grammatically they're much easier than, say, a novel or an adult book or even the newspaper. So kids' books are really, really, really great. So I have these, which I bought from my local book market. I also love fairy tales, so I bought these. They're basically like Disney fairy tales, but in Hindi. I haven't read any of them yet, but I did buy them. Like this one is Beauty and the Beast. We have like The Little Mermaid. This is Puss in Boots. Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs. So yeah, I have a lot of them, and I really, really should read them, but I kind of forget about them because they're put in the cupboard. Also, I forgot to mention this, I haven't really checked them, but these, when I first started learning, every time I learned a new word, I would write flashcards, and I separated them into categories. So we have like nature and outdoor categories, just like commonly used words, objects, places, I don't know what that one is, school and office. Kind of like, yeah, I categorized everything, food and drinks. And then every week, or like once a week, I would sit down and I would review all of the new words that I'd learnt, because in the textbook or the course book with the school, each chapter has new words, and same with this too, actually. Each chapter has new words, so every time I learnt a new word, I would write it down. But I've only really started doing that now with words I come across multiple times. I'm trying not to force myself to learn every single word that I come across, because if it's something that maybe I come across every so often, I will just try and learn it as it comes up. I'm just trying to teach myself to learn commonly used words, or words that come up in conversation a lot. And finally, one of my goals this year is to actually read Harry Potter in Hindi. This was Tiger. But before I moved here, someone suggested that, I think it was after I moved here, someone in a Facebook group I'm in suggested reading books side by side with their English translation or their English copy, because that way you can match the grammar, vocabulary, and you can sort of understand the words or the context of the story a bit better. And I chose Harry Potter, one, because it's my favorite book ever, and two, I'd already read it, so I know the storyline. I think it would be a lot harder trying to read a book that I didn't understand the storyline of. So when my family were coming here for my wedding, I asked them to bring all of my Harry Potter books. So they did that, and I bought this book, I think last year. Yeah, last year, and I started reading it at the end of last year, and I was aiming for a page a day. That was my goal. I also haven't read it in probably 2 months. But yeah, same thing. I sit on the couch and have the English copy next to it, and I just read the words out loud. And when I come across words that are repetitive, I will write it down and check translator. It's actually really good as well, because the grammar, it is a little bit harder, but every time now I'm learning new grammar in my Hindi classes, I think, oh, I've read about that, or I've seen those words, or I've seen that grammar in Harry Potter. So reading is a really great way to try and like understand more. In terms of listening skills, I haven't really done anything other than speaking to try and improve them. Like, you know, some people might watch Bollywood movies or TV shows, which is really, really great, but I just don't have time to sit there through a 3-hour movie. I mean, I could do it in parts, but yeah, I just haven't done it. But I have noticed on Netflix that there is a slow down speed option. So if their normal speech is too fast, you can actually slow down the audio to like half speed or quarter speed. So that's something that I do want to do in the future. I think once I finish Harry Potter, either do that, or even with podcasts, stories on Spotify in Hindi, any sort of like audiobooks in Hindi, listen that way, maybe with a transcript, and listen to it slowly as a way to try and improve my listening skills, because I can understand my mother-in-law fine, I can understand my Hindi teacher and Sunil, but I do have trouble hearing trying to understand what people say the first time they speak, and I have to ask them to repeat themselves because I'm not used to either their accent or dialect or way of speaking. So I think by doing different ways of listening, like different listening activities, that will also really help improve that skill. In terms of writing, this book's really, really good because they also have writing activities too. Answers are at the back, so you can practice your writing skills. With my Hindi school, I have like a homework book as well as exercises in each chapter, different writing exercises, so I do those, send them to my teacher to check. And I do want to finish this book as well because it's another way of kind of like solidifying what I've learned through like the Hindi school and, you know, all the other mediums. So I think I'm past 50%, and I'll definitely finish it this year. So I'm on chapter 10. And I think there's, how many chapters? I don't know, 12 chapters maybe. Oh, so I've nearly finished it. So yeah, going to finish this. Going to finish Harry Potter this year. They're definitely two things on my goals. Can't really see here, but my goals for 2022, I'm going to finish those. And hopefully become more fluent. Well, I'm currently at like I think an A2 level. If I can move up to like a B1 or B2 level at the end of the year, I'll be really happy. I also want to keep doing more YouTube videos in Hindi because that was really fun. So yeah, I think I'll do some more like, you know, daily routine activities, or, you know, speaking to friends, speaking to family. I do want to do a video of like Sunil asking me questions in Hindi or speaking to me in Hindi when he's ready to be on camera. He wasn't ready the other day, so whenever he's ready we can do that. And yeah, I think that's sort of it. That's how I've learned. Honestly, it's a marathon, and I have to keep reminding myself it's a marathon, not a sprint, because it is so freaking hard. And sometimes I think I'm not getting anywhere. I feel like that I'm not understanding, that I'm just stuck. But that's also why I'm making these videos, because I feel like it will be a good way to check my progress in like 3 months, 6 months, 12 months time. I make Hindi reels on Instagram, so this is my Instagram handle. I've been doing that for about 1.5 years since I started my Instagram page, and yeah, it's a really, really good way for me to check. I'm able to check back on my progress. So on those days where I feel like I'm not really getting anywhere, I like to check back on my progress, and I think, yeah, wow, actually I am understanding a lot more. So yeah, it just takes a long time. Hindi is like one of the hardest languages to learn. So I think I've done pretty well in like the on and off period I've been learning, but consistently for 1.5 years. So yes, that's the end of the video. Thank you for watching if you made it this far. Let me know if you're learning Hindi, what do you do? What have you been doing to learn? If you have any questions about any of the methods that I have done, or the books, or the school, I'll also put a link to the school's website in the description. I don't know if if they're taking new online students, but you can always email the principal to ask. They're very friendly and reply back quickly. So yeah, let me know if you like this video, like, subscribe, and I will see you next week for whatever I decide to do next week. Thank you. Bye.